I want to say hi to Miriam, who joined the Zoom group. So if you're not seeing in the group, then please join the Zoom link. So what we have here is the stress release cycle, which is in my stress release for dogs. And as you can see, there are many relax pieces in. And getting to that stage of deep sleep is a process. You just can't ask the dog to just go from playing into deep sleep. It is a process. And that process goes like this: rest, relax, and then that leads to non-REM, and then REM. And we'll talk more about that and what that means and the definitions of that. So the definition of rest is a relaxation. So it could even be looked at as the number one relaxation piece. Exertion, where they just exercise, or labor. Basically a rest period where they're coming down and trying to get into the next phase of relaxation. They're still alert. As you can see, the little dog on the right, he's alert, he's resting, he's really trying, he's trying to rest. So then we get into relaxation, which is the second step. So you have rest, and then the dog can get into relaxation. He's set up for success. Relaxation is the state of being free from tension and anxiety. If you close your eyes for just a second, right now, you will experience rest. Because you're still alert, you're still listening to me. You're closing your eyes, but you're not sleeping. Physics definition of relaxation is the restoration equilibrium following disturbance. So let's say that your dog had a reaction and you went home, and you would apply the physics definition to that because you are restoring equilibrium after they reacted or aggressed. Requires setting the stage. You can't just expect the dog to just lie down and sleep. You have to set the stage, and we will talk about how to do that. What does relaxation look like? Well, the dog is still alert. The ears are up, and they're like radar ears, I call them, rotating, this direction, that direction. Their eyes could be closed. They might be stretched out on their stomach, as you see these dogs, but they are not sleeping. If you get up, they will. And what we're trying to achieve is that when you get up, the dog does not move. So relaxation is important, but it isn't enough. So you have to set the stage for that relaxation process. Hi, Dana. Nice to see you here. You need to give them a break. It's like a vacation from life, if you want to look at it that way. And relaxed postures. What we want to see is that the body is free of tension. Okay, so look at your shoulders right now. Are they tense? So what you want to look at the body language Release the tension in your shoulders and close your eyes. Just completely release the tension. You might think you're relaxed, but if you have tension and it's up here, see the difference in my body? So you're looking for those tension spots in the dog. What we're doing is restoring equilibrium when we want to get them into deep sleep. What is the benefit of relaxation? We don't want to have a snooze fest here. We're talking about sleep. We want to really see how it benefits behavior. So when the dog is free from tension, muscles start to relax. So just as I explained with the shoulders, want to see the dog free from anxiety. Ability to learn increases when they don't have anxiety. And it leads to a release of stress. And, you know, well-being is so important and it has a lot of descriptions, but it does lead to well-being because the dog feels safe and eventually deep sleep and the processing of good information while they're sleeping. Whatever they learned in your training sessions or your desensitization and counter conditioning, they process that during deep sleep. And so it becomes set. Relaxation has a lot of different factors. This one is relaxation after eating or after exercising. You don't want the dog just to eat after exercising. So take 20 minutes when you come back in and watch that their respiration goes down before they eat. And relaxation after eating, you want that digestive process to be relaxed. And so and just lie on the couch or in their bed or in their crate for a few minutes. So, hi Miriam, I see your video is on. Turn your video off, Miriam. Thank you. So digestion is regulated by many chemicals. And it is stimulating more neurons and releasing nitric oxide. Okay, and that aids in anal relaxation and release acetylcholine, if I can pronounce that correctly, which helps stimulate colon contractions. So basically, it helps to move things through the digestive process better. In all, the entire digestion process, from the time a dog bites into their food to the time waste is produced, can take anywhere from around 10 hours, but it has been proven even 8 hours to a couple of days. So 8 to 36 to 48 hours for things to move through the digestive system. And then that also depends on what you fed them. And that reference is from Vet Info at Washington State University. So we want to set the stage. And when I say that, I mean, make the dog's relaxation place such that they can really just melt into sleep. That they know that that period of time is for relaxation. And how do we do that? One way is that we can provide warmth. So a warm towel from the dryer, a warm bed, a fluffy bed, a cozy bed that they can slip into, a blanket they can crawl under. All warmth. Warmth releases tension. Then there's relaxing touch, like T-touch or animal massage. And you would be surprised how much tension can be released by learning to touch your dog, not just pet them. And I'm not going to go into total detail about T-touch today, but you'll see some pictures on how that can be done. You might provide a tiring mental activity or a chew that releases mouth tension. You want them to mentally tire. And then when we get into supplements, there are a couple of supplements are especially effective for human reactive dogs, and that's L-theanine and Actium. They're not used all that much, but in the times that I have used them, it has been for human reactive dogs. And we have seen some effectiveness with using that. So basically a relaxing, cozy environment that means nothing except sleep, rest, calm down, settle. And then we might add some music for dogs because it's in the audio biotechnology of what the dog is listening to and hearing, and there is actual music for dogs. Keep it soft, it doesn't have to run for the entire time, but it can really get them into the mood that they need to sleep. So sensory exercises, we talked about warmth. The dogs here have different styles of experiencing warmth. The one on the left wants to top of a warm towel, not have it wrapped around them. And the platform bed is their preferred cozy spot. The other one wants to be wrapped in the blanket, and you know dogs like this, who are more comfortable and cozy just being wrapped and cuddled and nurtured within the warm blanket. And the warmth, again, you can take a blanket or a towel and put it into the dryer and then pull it out and put it on the dog. I want to say that some dogs don't like warmth, so you have to consider that as well. They may like a cooler area to sleep, and there's a lot of implications there, which I won't get into in this particular talk. But as I said before, chewing releases mouth tension. Some dogs have more mouth tension than others, and they might not stop chewing after a puppy period. They might need to chew something to release tension. Reactive dogs have more tension in their muzzles than a more functional dog. And so if you're talking about relaxing after exercise, so they've had an appropriate exercise plan that releases stress, doesn't build stress. You don't want to keep taking a dog into the same environment day after day and they're reacting to everything in sight. That is building glucocorticoids. You want to release stress, not build it. And so in the left, you can see a mouth open, able to be responsive to a cue. And so he'll be ready to relax when he gets back to his home. And the same with the two dogs on the right. And one is reactive, the black and white one. So dogs will fight relaxation. And what does that look like? Let's take a look here. This dog's mom will be talking you through. Now watch the dog's eyes. He's fighting it. His body is telling him to sleep, but he's fighting that experience. I'm gonna cut. So I'm just. I'm going to cut you off, so I'm trying to get back here to our discussion.
Diane, you're muted.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. So I was just talking about the diagram here before I was rudely muted. How, I don't know how that happened, but it did. But what we're looking at, we want to foster deep relaxation. It draws the dog into a solid learning state of mind, and it provides a full brain workout for better focus, speed, attention, memory, and oh my gosh, if you're in performance sports, sleep becomes really important for that dog because they will think better. They will not lose their footing on obstacles. They'll have more flexibility, and it always results in a faster and longer lasting behavior change when your dog is getting proper sleep. If they're not getting proper sleep, so when we're talking about relaxation with humans, we look at the meditation side. To manage our stress, we might meditate, or we might just sit down and close our eyes and try to release our stress. We want to create some type of inner peace, and that we want to strengthen relationships with the people around us. We want to reduce our anxiety, and we want to sleep better. So all of these things are for humans. How do we get a dog to do that? You know, we can't just talk to them and tell them to do that. We have to set the stage. Relaxation is actually, for dogs, a desensitization technique. And we want to do that gradual counter conditioning of anxiety using relaxation as an incompatible response. So we're actually working in a DRI. It's not uncommon for a severe phobia or source of anxiety of long standing to be removed in a few weeks. That's why when you do the 3-day canine emotional detox, that's what I'm looking at. That how can we get the dog into a state of learning that is as stress-free as possible. And one thing we can do is to set the stage so that they can achieve that deep sleep. And then it doesn't take long to get from there to noticeable and results-oriented behavior change. So we already said that it changes behavior, it changes emotional responses, and then you can see all of the study from the people who have done this through the ages. It's not just me talking, it is the science. And as you study sleep, it gets more and more complicated because there are a lot of studies out there. So you teach your dog how to relax, just as you would teach them to sit or down or whatever your target, whatever you're teaching, you need to teach your dog how to relax. So again, I'm talking about a DRI, use relaxation as an incompatible response, and a dog cannot be reactive and relaxed at the same time. Neither can you. But like anything else, we need to teach it. So the first step, you can include some type of muscle relaxation method. I'm a Guild certified Tellington Touch practitioner, so that is the method that I use. I love T-Touch, and it works the cells under the skin, and it has specific purpose for behavior change. In humans, if muscle relaxation doesn't work, then we would go into a biofeedback format, or maybe hypnosis or drugs. And with our dogs, medication would absolutely be on that list to help them adjust better while we're working through a behavior change program. And it might help them relax and achieve that deep sleep. So muscle relaxation training is usually more than is necessary for desensitization. So you can use T-Touch and warmth, as I said before, so that's repetitive. And in the canine emotional detox, I've already done 700 plus cases and getting the same results over and over and over again. This can be effective if the client can just maintain a general feeling of calmness or mental relaxation in their dog. And training in something like muscle relaxation is still desirable because it provides a useful self-control skill, and it provides a level of relaxation. When you're relaxed, you can cope better with life. So here are some photos. using T-Touch to relax. And T-Touch does use body wraps, thunder shirts. And you can see these dogs here, they're all reactive, every single one of them, except the fake dog. So you want to do what T-Touch is body work. It's leading exercises and also obstacle course work for confidence building. All of these dogs have different things going on. A half wrap, a head wrap. Some of them have already fallen asleep. The Doberman is human reactive and barked all the time. I mean, nonstop. Here he's not barking. And then we have a Rottweiler mix, and all of them are reactive, and all of them are sleeping and achieving deep sleep. How to release stress to create deep sleep? What we're dealing with is the tactile sensory system. So dogs have a high perception of temperature, pain, vibration, and touch, skin and membranes. And the tactile sensory system, or tactile period, is the first communication system. All of these systems communicate to the body. So the protective portion of that tactile experience would be if a bug lands on a dog, they can feel it. They can feel something at the end of their hair touching them. Or if you've ever had a dog get on a blanket and get an electrical shock, that is something that they might yelp or run away from. And I'm not going into any further specifics on you know what. Discriminatory would be vibration and pressure, which is located just under the skin. And the pressure that is exhibited is what is calming. And they take this into the realm of other health issues as well. It can be very calming to have pressure. And when I talk about pressure, I'm talking about the pressure of the touch on the skin, whether it's light or deeper. How information is transferred and interpreted. Information from touch or doing T-Touch goes to the nervous system. So it becomes a form of communication through tactile, proprioceptive, and vestibular systems. We will go into that more in other discussions in our group. There is a book, and it's been around for a while. It's by Candace Pert, and it's called The Molecules of Emotion. A very good read if you want to delve into why you feel the way you feel. And thanks to major advances in neuroscience over the past 20 years, scientists now recognize a complex communication system powered by chemicals known as neurotransmitters and neuropeptides. Very important in relaxation, in deep sleep. T-Touch wraps, thunder shirts, an anxiety wrap. There's science out there on these particular things. And are they 100%? No. But they can help some dogs. They can help a dog get used to their harness, for instance. It can be very calming, and if done with kindness, it can really benefit the dog. So what we're seeing here is a thunder shirt, and a thunder shirt was developed by a T-Touch practitioner, and it is the tightness that causes the calming. But you have to correlate it with calming versus putting it on when you go to agility practice, if you understand what I mean. If you're going to agility practice and your dog hates doing agility, the thunder shirt becomes an aversive. When they see it, they will run. So that's not what we want to achieve. We want to make sure that it's always calming, relaxing. That's called setting the stage. Set the stage for anything you're putting on the dog's body. We have several different kinds of wraps here. We have half wraps. We see Wally in an obstacle course, he's stretching. That's really a good way to release tension. So the dog releases the tension himself. And then we have a back wrap for dogs who carry a lot of tension in their hindquarters. Body wraps have a significant effect on animals in terms of increasing focus, calming, and improving body awareness. Where are they in space? And when applied to an animal or person, it is again the pressure of the touch, where it's placed on the body that is calming. And it enhances the brain's perception of where their body is in space. A lot of dogs don't pay attention, so you'll see a dog stumble, or they won't be able to go over a cavaletti without clipping it with their toes. It's because they're moving too fast. You need to bring them down. Really good for hyperarousal and overexcited dogs. So we've talked about rest, and then we've talked about the biggest segment, relaxation, and now calm. Once they get out of relaxation, they go into that calming phase. They're not showing or feeling any nervousness, no anger or rage or other emotions. And the synonyms here you can see really fit what calm means. Being serene or tranquil, relaxed, might be where you're watching a TV show or something and your eyes are fluttering and you're just in that space between wanting to fall asleep and wanting to watch your movie. So you could fall asleep at any time, basically. Your body is telling you to sleep and you're basically just keeping yourself awake. Now, the definition of non-REM is what will happen when you get really calm. And that is non-rapid eye movement. And there are 3 different stages to non-REM. And that's what I look for when I'm looking at all of those sleep photos on those sleep videos. I'm looking at all of these things, from tension release to is the dog now calm? Are they in transition to unconsciousness? That means REM, where the body shuts down. And are they in the stage where they have sleep spindles, meaning brain activity? The dog is very calm at this point. This is the lengthiest sleep stage. It lasts for up to 45% of the total sleeping time for a dog. I'm talking about dogs here. And then they would go into non-REM 3, which is the slow wave stage. This is where you'll see the heart rate decrease. You'll see the respiration come down. It lowers blood pressure, decreased body temperature, and again, a very slow breathing. Deep sleep is where the dog does not react to noises or disruptions, and it lasts 10 to 15 minutes, which is going to be followed by rapid eye movement, REM. The slow wave stage is what I look for, because I ask people if you can you get up and move around, and does your dog respond? If not, then they are in this slow wave stage of non-REM, and they are slipping into REM. And this is why you don't want to wake up your dog. So we want to get them into the rapid eye movement stage, which is the active stage of deep sleep, where we might see some twitching, eye rolling. The dog might make noises, whine, bark, even wag their tail, but there will be a twitching of limbs. This would be equated to like a dream state that we would have. So it lasts for 10 to 15% of the total sleeping time. And it is proven, and we'll talk about the science of puppies. Puppies will spend more time in the REM phase they need to. So there's a lot about sleeping position as well. And the best sleeping position is when the dog stretches out on their side. Then I know they're probably going to be going into the non-REM stages pretty quickly. The second most common would be in a curled up position. And then other positions, you see your dogs in, each dog as an individual, they might have a different position that they can really achieve deep sleep. Their head is dangling over the edge of the bed. They don't look comfortable, but they are, and or on their stomach with the back legs stretched out, frog legs, I like to call it. In dogs aged 12 months, the most commonly reported observation was that they twitched or had movements of their back legs. And they made noises, barks, squeaks, whimpers, even howling. And they snored quietly. They had facial muscle twitches, and they even wagged their tail. But wagging their tail was less prevalent than the twitching movements of the legs, which we see all the time. That's when I know the dog is in deep REM. And the average pet owner does not know what to look for. And so this can really help with your analysis. Is the dog getting enough sleep? And you really need to have that answered. It's interesting. Hi, Janet. Nice to see you. So deep sleep is a process, and this little girl here, dog reactive. She didn't like the warmth of a towel, but she sure liked sunshine. So the individual that she is, you can see her in the second photo, her eyes are starting to get heavy. I wait for their neck to get so heavy that they can't hold it up. And you start to see that in the photos 3, and then she's really melting. You can see the different little phases of melting into deep REM, which is the last stage. This is where she was twitching, and her sleep was the second most common on her stomach. So she's sleeping on her stomach. And there was something about how a dog couldn't achieve deep REM unless they laid on their side. Well, that is the most common position, and it does stimulate better sleep. But some dogs, like Annie here, can sleep with their head between their paws. And you can see how she melted deeper and deeper and deeper into sleep as the tension released from her body. I call that a puddle of dog. I like to see a puddle of dog occurring as I'm going through this stress release process. Then I know that we're releasing tension, we're going to have a better mood, we're building the good neurotransmitters that we want. So the study of sleep, what occurs? During non-REM sleep, acetylcholine is turned off. Histamine is turned off for both stages of sleep. Noradrenaline, serotonin are less active in non-REM sleep, and they are inactive in REM sleep. Don't get bogged down with the details because I'm telling you, sleep gets really complicated to talk about. But noradrenaline, serotonin, histamine, dopamine, and acetylcholine work together. They have to come together. If one system fails, the rest of the system fails. People too. So if you can't sleep at night, you're disrupting the coming together of these chemicals that are going to put you in a better mood. Dopamine requires the input of the other 4 neurotransmitters to fire or not to fire. You see, you're really missing out on a lot that's going on internally to be exhibited externally if you're missing that deep sleep and all of the things that have to come together. So in normal health, all five are active during waking because we have sleeping and what's happening there, and we have waking and what's happening there. We're not going to get into details on that today because we're talking about sleep. Now, the definition of deep sleep is, again, that slow wave sleep, which is referred to as deep sleep. That's what people understand. And that consists of those three stages and 4 of non-rapid eye movement sleep, according to I can't pronounce his name, Rashoffen and Kales. And that was as early as 1968 when that study was done. And slow wave sleep is the constructive phase of sleep for recuperation of the mind-body system. This is the healing that goes on in our bodies, and sleep is very healing. Recuperation of the mind-body system in which it rebuilds itself after each day. So this is why we sleep, so that we can recuperate from what we lost during our waking hours. And it is necessary for survival. So just in the stages of sleep, you need these chemicals. You need growth-releasing hormone, which is secreted to facilitate the healing of the muscles, as well as repairing damage to any tissues. Probably why when we hurt ourselves or we have a medical issue, we're tired and we need to sleep. Our body is saying, sleep, I need to heal you. Galanin, which is can modulate the action of classical neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, and inhibit the secretion of insulin, somatostatin, and glucagon. That doesn't look right, in the pancreas, and stimulate the release of growth hormone and prolactin in the pituitary. And that is a 1998 study from Hochfeld. But you're starting to see how complicated this is, what happens during sleep and why it's so important in behavior change and healing a dog from the inside outwardly. Then you need prolactin. That's especially important in lactating females, females about ready to have puppies, because it helps with the development of the mammary glands and the stimulation of lactation in mammals. Hypocretin, regulation of sleep and wakefulness. And then melatonin, which is controversial, taken in tablets, especially for dogs and now for children. But the melatonin hormone that your brain produces in response to darkness. You have to have darkness for melatonin to produce. It helps with the timing of circadian rhythms and with sleep. Being exposed to light at night can block melatonin production. So turn the lights off, turn the TV off. That's why you keep hearing that, because melatonin is blocked. And continuing on with that, you need acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter. And it is at its strongest both during REM and sleep and while you're awake. It seems to help the brain keep information gathered while you are awake. Think about that. It sets that information as you sleep. So that's the processing. When the dog sleeps, they are able to process the information that you gave them during the day. And it helps when they're awake to process more information and keep that information gathering going so that what you're teaching, what you're counter conditioning has a better effect, and they can learn faster and they can retain longer. Then we have the neuropeptide Y, which promotes sleep by inhibiting noradrenergic signaling. And then you have neuroactive steroids, which influence stress and anxiety, sleep, sexual behavior. And then we have GABA, which is a gamma aminobutyric acid, which facilitates sleep versus facilitating arousal. So when we're dealing with dogs that are over aroused, a lot of times you'll find that they cannot sleep deeply. So lack of sleep can lead to a serotonin depletion, and there have been studies done on why, what the serotonin levels are in aggressive dogs versus normal dogs. And the serotonin levels are depleted. So why would you take medication like Prozac, fomopramine? Because you're building your serotonin levels up. You can also do that by stress release and sleep. It's very important. Relaxation called REM sleep occurs, and there are 3 or 4 REM sleep phases per night in the dog. Non-REM precedes REM, and that's where serotonin reserves are built and melatonin is made. So after a dog is fully relaxed, the neurotransmitters and sleep signals continue to lull the brain activity. And you can see that actually happening when we saw the blinking of the eyes, and then the neck becomes so heavy, and then everything just kind of flops down as muscle tension releases. GABA, galanin, and other relaxing chemicals are continually produced to keep the body and brain asleep. So during this time, other waste materials accumulated during the wake cycle are able to be transported and removed from the brain. So we have waste being removed from the brain during sleep, promoting a feeling of refreshment and well-being upon waking. If you've ever felt really good when you woke up, you know that you got the proper sleep. If you feel groggy or you just don't want to get up, there's something wrong. And sometimes the dog will awaken so refreshed, and I watch for this, that they aren't sure where they are or appear more relaxed than they've ever been. They'll come out of REM and they'll raise their head and look around, and then they'll lie back down. That's kind of what you see. They're just, or they could be even disoriented for a moment as to where they are. Deep sleep. So now you're going to see a video on deep sleep, and I hope I can get back to you here. During REM sleep, acetylcholine makes dopamine neurons fire. Let's take a look at what that looks like. If you have any questions now, you might want to put them in the chat, or just open up your video and I can answer any questions you have. Because you're going to have questions with sleep. So this is the dog we saw earlier fighting sleep. And you can see that puddle of dog I talk about. Doesn't even look like the same dog. What stage of sleep is he in? Can you tell? At least non-REM stage 3. REM because she's moving around and he's not getting up. So any questions about that part? As I start to come back to our Sorry about that. So, Miriam said she loved this presentation. She said, thank you. She's headed out for another Zoom meeting. And don't worry, everyone, these will be recorded. This is being recorded, and you will be able to see it in action. I don't know how to get back to the. I need more practice with this, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Anybody know how to trying this new thing, and I'm not really sure how to get out of here. Okay. There we go. So sorry about this. Okay. So here are two dogs that are also just relaxing, and they're setting, how can we set the stage for sleep is by giving them whatever they're comfortable with. The little dog on the right has a little toy he likes to sleep with. My own Valor likes to sleep with a toy as well. Another dog is on his back on his comfortable spot on the sofa. And that gives our dogs the chance to remain functional. Now, what does functional mean? So when I'm working with a client, I always want to see if that dog is functional or not. So adaptability and coping skills in dogs are very important, that they are functional, meaning that they can cope with real life. It's a very important clue to adaptability, how adaptable they are to environments or to real life. And they need to be able to remain functional. So the degree to which basic functions are disrupted tells us how much any given stress or situation is affecting the animal. So the basic functions to be considered are as follows. Eating. What is that dog's eating habits? Functional animals eat when they're hungry. End of story. So when you hear clients say, my dog is not eating, or they're eating limited, they have a limited intake, they don't want to eat. They have to be coaxed to eat. They have to be hand fed. They have a total refusal to eat, whether the person is in the room, maybe they can't eat, or if the person is out of the room, maybe they can't eat. That is not a functional dog. That is a stressed dog. And what we can look to is maybe they're not getting enough sleep. Their stress levels are high. Also drinking. A functional animal drinks when they're thirsty and in the appropriate amounts. So variations would be excessive drinking, stress drinking, and you can get gastric distress from too much water in your system. So they might throw up or vomit water, and they might refuse to drink at all. This is not functional. But it might seem to the pet parent normal because that's all they've seen their dog do. And that is why stress release is so important and why sleep is a very important component of that being functional. That's my boy Valor under the table. Sleeping, functional dogs sleep approximately 12 to 14 hours per day, 2 to 4 hours during the day, depending on their age and activity level and their health. So variations on the spectrum would be that if the dog is stressed, you see hypervigilance that precludes sleep. You see their sleep constantly being interrupted by someone or something, or not having the proper place to sleep, or they're getting insufficient sleep. And also part of that is excessive sleep. Too much sleep is also not good. What else do we need to see in a functional dog? Elimination. Functional animals urinate and defecate on a regular basis. Dogs, usually one time in the morning and or one time in the evening. And they have properly concentrated urine. That's why I do pH urine strips testing, and properly digested food and a compact stool. And that's why you see pictures of waste and analysis of waste, because that has a lot to do with whether the dog is functional or not. So variations on the spectrum would be that they refuse to urinate or defecate in let's say the backyard. I hear that a lot. My dog won't go potty in the backyard, or I have to take my dog on a walk for them to go potty. We're seeing a dog that is highly stressed. They are not functional. Or they can only go under certain conditions. No humans nearby, no noises, no animals. And then we have the situation of increased urination and defecation. I have a dog I'm going to be working with this week that is urinating excessively in the house. And so we've not got a functional dog there. And then there's outright diarrhea and urinary incontinence as well. So all of these things you have to look at. You ask yourself, am I working with a functional dog? Functional animals in social interactions are able to maintain their social skills under a broad range of conditions. And it has to be noted, maintain. They are able to maintain. They've already been taught, not develop. An animal who's lacking social skills with either humans or other dogs or other species cannot be said to be dysfunctional because the skill did not exist prior to the circumstance. Okay, so we don't know whether they're functional, but we can't say that they're dysfunctional. And variations on this social interaction spectrum would be a dog who avoids interactions, irritability with interactions, over-clinginess, unwillingness to be left alone when normally willing to be, and also to outright aggression. That is not a functional animal. That is why when you're solving the aggression or behavior puzzle, you have certain steps to take to get to that dog being functional. Why do people care? They don't. People don't understand that part of it, and it would go so much faster if they did. So learning and thinking, functional animals can employ their knowledge and skills under a broad range of conditions. But variations on the spectrum is slow and inaccurate responses, mild to significant inability to correctly process signals, they lose focus, and an outright inability to learn or perform, performance anxiety. So as a dog's stress increases, so does their ability to learn. They can't think clearly. There's arousal, they can't focus. And so all of those things have to be taken into consideration. I'm seeing a lot of dogs that have over arousal and over excitement patterns right now. And play is sometimes when you hear your clients say, oh, my dog doesn't play, or he doesn't like toys, or he never played. Well, play is a high level function, and it's based on physical and emotional well-being. And in particular, a feeling of safety in the environment that the play is taking place or with their playmates. So a lot of times when you hear things like this, you know you have a stressed animal. They haven't found play fun, or they have found it aversive, or they have been reprimanded in some way for play, or they just haven't been taught how to play and really enjoy it. It is a high level function. So when you're working with dogs, you ask, how functional is this animal? That's you, the trainer, talking. How functional is this animal? Where is the function impaired, and to what degree? Is the function in any area impaired sufficiently to warrant medical intervention? That might be to your benefit while you're working a behavior change program. What negatively affects the animal's ability to function? All of those things we just talked about need to be looked at. What positively affects the animal's ability to function? What do they like? I ask in my intake form, what does your dog love? Okay. So why is the sleep process so vital? Because just as in humans, if we allow a dog to get to chronic stress where they spike up, go over threshold, and then level out, and they can't come down from that stress, that causes serious medical problems, weakened immune systems, digestive diseases, and heart disease. Acute stress is where you have a spike and you go over threshold, and then you start to come down if the conditions are right, but it could take several days. And acute stress can sensitize the dog to specific environments and people, creating a more negative association than before and escalating behavior problems in the long run. So if they have high spikes, the next distraction or trigger or stimuli that they see will cause a greater reaction. So you say, my dog is getting worse, not better. That's because they're acutely stressed and they're creating a more negative association than before, just continues on. So behaviorist William Campbell in his book, Behavior Problems, described that most often a medical issue was contributed to behavior challenges. And I see that all the time. I see that a lot of times with behavior challenges, I pretty much know there's going to be some type of medical issue occurring either in the short-term or long-term future. And stress in dogs, like stress in people, contribute to health issues. This can affect the ability to relax and cope with real life and makes sleep more important. So the right combination is intense periods of relaxation, intense periods of mentally stimulating activity, some physical stimulation and or exercise in the right format, and I call it proper, proper exercise that does not build stress but brings stress down and is fun for the dog, and they look forward to it. They're not reacting. And this all leads to neutralization of harmful stress toxins and the ability to sleep better. So why is it important to achieve sleep? Because it ensures physiological changes. It ensures the body builds good chemicals. It releases bad stress. It prepares the body from the inside outwardly. When you feel good inside, that comes out on the outside. It fosters deep relaxation, draws the canine into a solid learning state of mind, and it provides a full brain workout for better focus, better speed, better attention, better memory, flexibility, and just coping with real life. So what you get in a behavior change program is you get better results, you get faster results and longer lasting behavior change. So taking a little bit of a look at the science to end this discussion, because we can fill volumes and we'd be talking here for days on end, but let's look at 3 studies. There's study number 1, the sleep in the dog, comparative, behavioral, and translational. Sleep in dogs fulfill all behavioral and polygraphic criteria. That means that they can study dogs and sleep through measurement techniques. Dogs are not diurnal, this study found, which means active during the day, nor are they nocturnal. They are social sleepers, which means that they really adjust to our lifestyle. And that's why in the canine emotional detox, I want to disrupt that routine and see really who that individual is. Are they a morning dog, meaning are they at their optimal best in the morning or in the evening? But we allow them to have weak circadian modulation and assumed adaptation to human rhythms because they take their cues from us. Pre-sleep experiences, location, and socio-ecological factors affect canine sleep. And again, set the stage. Sleep may contribute to dogs' memory consolidation. And they also, the synopsis was development and aging affect sleep and cognition in dogs. It's not just, it's one way when they're a puppy, and it's going to be that way all the way up to senior. No, it changes and fluctuates. So the conclusion of this study was that the domestic dog is characterized by unequivocal sleep in terms of behavioral and physiological criteria. The relationship between socio-ecological and physical environmental, as well as cognitive behavioral factors, where sleep improves insight into the functional significance of sleep, as well as into the still unraveled mysteries of dog behavior, meaning they have to continue to study sleep in dogs to have more conclusive evidence and make better conclusions. This new emerging evidence strongly suggests that dogs are valid and useful models of sleep-related cognition. And then there's another study, sleep duration and behaviors, which I found very interesting, a descriptive analysis of a cohort of dogs up to 12 months. So they actually looked at puppies 16 weeks and 12 months and how their sleep patterns differed. So the goal was to evaluate population norms and descriptions of sleep-related behavior. And the age of dogs, again, was 16-week-old puppies and 12-month-old dogs. And it was survey-based, and owners of the 16-week-old puppies perceived that their dogs sleep longer during the day and over a 24-hour period, but for less time during the night. You hear this complaint, the puppy wakes up at 3 in the morning or at midnight, and that's common and found to be normal in this sleep study, and for less time during the night than the owners of a 12-month-old dog. So the environment would be living in domestic environments. Okay, this is not in a laboratory study. All of these dogs were in a domestic environment. The pet parents answered questions relating to their dog's sleep behaviors. And then the statistical analysis at both time points, dogs were most commonly settled to sleep by being left in a room area without human company. So maybe behind a baby gate or in the bedroom or in the living room. And a percentage chose to be around people at 16 weeks and 12 months of age. And the most common sleeping place was in a kennel or crate at 16 weeks and then transitioning to a dog bed by 12 months of age. The conclusion was, and this study looked at 2,000 pups in 3 areas: daytime sleep, nighttime sleep, and daytime and nighttime sleep together. And the results were the mean time of sleep at night was reported as 7 hours and 7.3 at 16 weeks and 12 months respectively. So basically that 8-hour sleep period at night for some dogs, could be 7.3, but you get the picture, 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. The mean total hours of sleep in this subpopulation was reported as 11.2 and 10.8 hours at 16 weeks and 12 months respectively. So you can see a little bit of change in what occurs with age. Duration of nighttime sleep was reported to be longer in the 12-month survey than in the 16-week survey. Very much like our human babies, isn't it, when you're looking at this study? And the duration of daytime sleep and total sleep was reported to be longer in the 16-week-old study. Puppies need their sleep. And then in study 3, can sleep and resting behaviors be used as indicators of welfare in shelter dogs? This was very interesting because there's a lot of activity going on in shelters. So this study explored the use of sleep and resting behavior as indicators of welfare by describing the activity patterns of the dog housed in rescue shelters and comparing their sleep patterns to other behavioral and cognitive measures of welfare. So in the context of a busy shelter environment, the ability to rest more during the day would be a sign of improved welfare. Probably less barking too, once they started to achieve rest during the day. And the conclusion found that dogs in shelters sleep substantially less during the day due to the busy shelter environment. And again, we have that the dog is adjusting to the environment around them and the people around them and the activity around them. It is rather than being diurnal or nocturnal. It is possible that dogs adapted their sleep routine to this environment by sleeping earlier if they needed it and reducing their sleep fragmentation throughout the night. But sleep may not be useful as a welfare indicator in shelter dogs, the study also found, but increased rest during the day emerged as a more robust sign of or indicator of welfare. Very important. And you can, if we've all been in shelters, it can be very noisy. The dogs are barking all the time. People are coming and going. If we could just change the way the environment is presented, you could have better adoption rates and less returns. So thank you very much for joining me in the importance of sleep. And I hope you learned at least one little tidbit as we went through. And this is being recorded, so you will be able to watch it at another time. Thank you, Dana, and thank you, Janelle, for sticking around. It went a little bit long. Do you have any questions? You can open your mics if you want to. I'll give you a moment. You can talk to me if you want to. You can let me see you unmute your mic or type in the chat room. And if you don't have any questions, I'm available at info@k9tlc.com or garrett@woodby.com, or you can message me. So Janelle says, thanks, Diana, learned a lot. I'll watch the beginning later because she entered later. And that's just fine too. Okay, everybody, I'm going to end the presentation. And again, thank you all so much for joining us. And I will announce who the speaker will be for the next Dog's Voice. Bye-bye. Sleep tight.